Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the LEA Special Education Point of Contact webinar for December. Thank you so much for joining us. We will start momentarily as we see people are starting to continue to log in. For those of you who are all set and your sound is good, we do have 3 handouts here uploaded to the presentation. Today in GoToWebinar, you will find in the handout section a copy of this presentation, as well as the memos and documents that will be referenced throughout this presentation for your download. Of course, a week after this presentation, a week after our webinar, this presentation as well as the recording will be found on our OSSE website. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we will be getting started shortly. Okay, good morning, everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining our LEA Special Education Point of Contact webinar for December. My name is Tiffany Ingram, and I'm a program analyst here at OSSE. I will start the presentation going over our agenda this morning. We have some policy updates and reminders. We will also go over our IDA monitoring reminders and updates. Some reminders around our child outcome summary. We will have an update from our non-public team, as well as our transportation team, and we will close out today's webinar with announcements and reminders from our Office of Teaching and Learning. I'll turn it over this morning to Christy to give us a walkthrough of some of the policy reminders and updates. Christy?
Good morning, everyone. This is Christy Weaver-Harris. I'm the Policy Manager in OSSE's Division of K-12 Systems and Supports and the Office of Special Education. Next slide. So yesterday, we issued some updates to our existing IDEA Part B guidance related to remote and blended learning. This was uploaded on OSSE's website. It's also attached as a handout, and there will be an announcement regarding this in the LEA Look Forward this week. The new content that was added it starts on page 17. So we added some additional FAQs to address considerations for beginning in-person activities during periods of distance and hybrid learning. And by that, I mean, we've addressed that LEAs and schools are making the decisions and need to be making the decisions that are best for themselves and for their student populations. We want to make sure that in making those decisions, you're balancing health and safety concerns with the needs of the students. But we do encourage you to continue to make decisions around the provision of services in person based on what is best for you, for your LEA. We've also included some FAQs on completing initial evaluations and reevaluations, including doing that during periods of distance learning and conducting in-person assessments if there is a need to conduct an assessment in person. I do want to acknowledge here that many assessments and evaluation measures may not be normed for virtual administration. We know that that is an issue that schools are running up against, where you have a student who's just been waiting for you to complete their evaluation, but you need to conduct an assessment that cannot be provided over or cannot be provided remotely. And in that instance, the evaluation will have to be delayed. We also know that there are some concerns around student observations and whether a student observation is valid if it is conducted remotely. We also have we address determining eligibility using informal assessment data. I also want to encourage you to rely on the clinical judgment of your experts available at your LEAs to inform the evaluation and to inform your eligibility determinations, especially while we are in a remote posture. And conducting virtual eligibility meetings. We have an FAQ addressing that. Next slide, please. So the FAQ also addresses LEA child find obligations, simply that your child find obligations do continue during periods of remote and blended learning. We have a question on documenting remote service provision. We know that there have been some concerns with students attending part of a prescribed session. Enrollment requirements related to truancy. So this is the only question that is not new to the guidance. This is question 20 in the existing guidance. And in the spring, when we started remotely, LEAs were not taking attendance. So you could not unenroll a student for truancy because we were not taking attendance. There was no attendance upon which to base the truancy. In this school year, you may unenroll a student for failure to attend. I don't necessarily encourage it because we know that parents and families and students are struggling under in COVID times. But LEAs are permitted to unenroll a student for failure to attend in accordance with your LEA policy. There's an FAQ on student discipline, essentially that student discipline requirements remain in effect during periods of remote and blended learning, and the use of LEA provided technology and devices for Medicaid reimbursable medical services. So the concern here is that some students have LEA provided laptops or other technology, and we've had requests from the District Department of Health for LEAs to consider allowing students to use those devices for Medicaid reimbursable services. We understand that this may be a use that is outside of what your LEA permits, but we encourage you to consider allowing that. If you have any questions about these FAQs, please feel free to reach out to my team at aussie.dsepolicy@dc.gov or directly to me. This is Christy Weaver Harris. And I hope that these FAQs provide some clarity around some frequent issues that we've seen pop up since we initially released this guidance in July. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christy. And just for participants, know that throughout this discussion, there is a chat box where you can submit questions to the team here at OSSE. We'll do our best to answer with you while we're online today, or be able to follow up with you after this call if you have additional questions or concerns. We're going to transition to IDA reminders and updates, and I'll turn it over to Karen.
Thank you, Tiffany. Hi, this is Karen Morgan Donaldson from Igea Part B Monitoring and Compliance. The next few slides are repeat slides, but they are important, so we thought we would review them one more time. OSSE issued an updated IDEA Part B monitoring activities and schedule memo. It is included in the handouts in today's presentation. The memo included the following information. Basically, OSSE is moving to an annual monitoring schedule, including focused monitoring of children ages 3 through 5. Additionally, OSSE is shifting to a quarterly technical assistance touchpoint model based on LEA data. Some of you have received notification that you've been selected for this quarterly technical assistance. Additionally, the memo outlines that OSSE continues to acknowledge the challenges associated with the pandemic, and it does continue to provide the following flexibilities. We are continuing to allow LEAs a 30-day correction window for LEAs to validate their data within DC CATS, and we are also reviewing and taking into consideration LEA's completion of prior written notices when determining correction of noncompliance. We also anticipate slippage of LEA and state compliance rates related to various IDEA Part B indicators, specifically initial evaluation, reevaluation, and C2B transition. And we also, in the memo, included an updated monitoring and compliance activity schedule. So that in our next slide, please, we review that schedule. So December, so LEAs received notification of focused or targeted technical assistance, which is what we're calling it. So again, some LEAs received notification related to this. In January, that is when the targeted technical assistance will begin. LEAs will receive individualized TTA based on their data from last year. Just as a note, LEAs data, we looked at LEA's pre-COVID and post-COVID data, and we did take into consideration the impact of COVID when selecting LEAs for this targeted technical assistance. In April, we will be monitoring for our specific conditions reporting that we have to provide to OSSE. So we will be monitoring for secondary transition requirements, reevaluation timeliness, and then again, also providing the targeted technical assistance during that quarter. In May, we will be monitoring for significant discrepancy and disproportionate representation and child find monitoring. In July, we will be continuing to provide targeted technical assistance and then significant disproportionality monitoring, not to be confused with significant discrepancy. And then we will also be monitoring for initial evaluation and C2B transition monitoring. A quick note, initial evaluation and C2B transition monitoring are in bold because they were not included in the memo. So please note that. And that was an error. And then in August, OSSE will be issuing IDEA LEA determinations for federal fiscal year 2019. Next slide, please. This slide gives an overview of the timeline for correction of noncompliance. LEAs are issued initial findings report in DC CATS. That begins the 30-day correction window. During that 30-day correction window, LEAs can verify their data and/or make an appeal in DC CATS. After the 30 days, that is when the final findings report is released in DC CATS. At that time, that is when the 365-day timeline begins. OSSE is requiring LEAs to correct non-compliance, which is considered prong 1 for those student level findings, within 90 days. So that prong 1 is LEAs are expected to complete that during 90 days. After 90 days, we expect LEAs to engage in the prong 2 process within 30 days after prong 1 of completion. If you have any questions related to this, please feel free to reach out to me or put a question in the question box. Again, my name is Karen Morgan Donaldson, and these are our quick reminders related to IDEA monitoring and compliance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Next, we will have an update around child outcome summary, and I will turn it over to Dawn.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good morning. My name is Dawn Hilton. I am the 619 Special Education Coordinator with OSSE. And today we will talk about child outcome summaries, also known as COS. This year, OSSE will conduct 2 child outcome summaries data checkpoints for the 2020 and 2021 school years. The first will occur in January 2021 for the outcome summary entry data submitted in DC CATS during the fall of 2020. The second will occur in June 2021 for exit data submitted in DC CATS during the spring of 2021. Today, we will focus on the January checkpoint. The COS entry data for all children enrolled in pre-kindergarten programs receiving special education services must be entered in DC CATS by Friday, January 15th, 2021. This includes all newly enrolled students during the 2020-2021 school year and any pre-K students who receive special education services but does not have a COS record in DC CATS. As a reminder, if a child already has a record and entry scores in DC CATS from the previous year, not need to create a new record or re-enter scores. If you have any questions about COS data submission, please contact the email that you see below, or you can email me directly at dawn.hilton1@dc.gov. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dawn, for providing that update. Again, if folks have any questions as our presenters are going through their slides, feel free to place them in the chat box, and we'll try our best to answer it during the call today. Now I will transition to handing it over to our non-public team to provide updates. Sharon and Ecker.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good morning, everyone. This is Sharon Powell, Education Program Specialist with the Non-Public Monitoring Team, which falls under K through 12 Office of Special Populations and Programs. So this morning, I'd just like to share a few announcements regarding our monitoring and monitoring related activities for this school year. As in previous years, every LEA that has a student placed in a non-public school or program will undergo an annual review by our team to determine compliance with the requirements of IDEA and the DCMR. If your LEA was identified through OSSE's risk matrix, the monitoring schedule for your LEA is not reflected here and will be coordinated and aligned with the greater risk-based monitoring process. If your LEA was not identified through the risk-based matrix, your LEA will be reviewed by our team in one of 3 review periods. The first review, which actually only involves 1 LEA, officially started on December 14th, as you can see here in this slide, and that review is currently underway. Our POCs at that LEA received notification of this desktop or student file review on November 16th. The next review will begin on March 10th, and the third review will begin on June 4th. So the LEAs involved in those reviews will receive notifications on January 27th and April 23rd, respectively. Next slide, please. So we're also gearing up at this time to conduct a review that was slated to be completed last spring, but due to the outbreak of COVID-19 and schools needing time to transition from in-person to virtual teaching and learning, that review was placed on hold. You can see here on this chart that you can expect to receive the results of that review on February 1st. If there are any questions about the areas that will be reviewed as part of these student file reviews, please see the monitoring tool that was included in the notification letters, or reach out to me and or your LEA's designated OSSE non-public monitor. If you're not sure who that is, please contact me and I'll connect you with either Sherry Polk Black if your LEA is involved in the review reflected on this slide, or Tony Lemons and LaShonda Wilson for the review covered on the previous slide. Okay, I think that's about it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so
Back
much,
to Tiffany.
Thank you so much. Again, if you have, we will have a slide in concluding the presentation with everyone's contact information. But of course, if you do have any outstanding questions, feel free to place them in the chat. I will turn it over now to our transportation team, and Doug will be providing some updates from our amazing team there.
Good morning, everyone. I am Douglas Johnson, member of the data and technology team within Aussie DOT. While everyone is staying warm on this supposedly snow day. So some months ago, our team sent out a Aussie DOT bus safety kit. If you have not received that information, please put into the questions there, and I will email you the safety kit information. And the safety kit is one of our top priorities, and it's basically how our organizations focus on the avoidance of infection while students and staff are in transmission and at work, and in implementing specific bus cleaning and disinfecting processes. So that bus safety kit is basically informing all our LEAs and our process and what we're doing within DOT to prevent any spread of COVID, and what we're going above and beyond to keep everyone safe. If you do have the slides, we also have a link to the reopening video and what we're doing to keep everyone safe as well when it comes to the bus safety kit. So if you haven't received that, please reach out to me and I will gladly send you a copy of that that presentation that we have. You go to the next slide, please. Also, we know that many of our schools are still practicing distance learning. So if you have access to TOTE, we know that a majority of our schools have submitted calendars into the TOTE system. However, if you do get a chance to go back and update your calendar, we're asking that you update your calendar with a in-person start date. So that in-person start date for many of our campuses are tentative, but if you can give us an idea of when you may be expecting students back to the campus for a hybrid session or in full in-person learning, please put that date in the calendar in TOTE, and that'll help us with projecting with our drivers and attendants as well, with bringing people back into the office, so we can ensure that we can give you all the transportation that the students need. So if you have that in-person start date for your campus, please submit that to your calendar if you have not entered TOTE at this particular time. That's that will help us with forecasting with when schools are going to open potentially. Okay, and the next slide. And we have completed all our training dates for 2020, but we will resume training in January 2021. If you have any immediate needs, you can always, I'll be glad to schedule a one-on-one session with you. And you can just send an email to dot.data@dc.gov. And I will, sit through any questions and go through the entire process with you if you need any assistance of that need on that level. But if you just need a quick, question answered, just reach out to us at 202-576-5520, and one of our team members will assist you with your question. So again, we will begin training in January 2021, and those dates will be sent out soon to all the LEAs if you have any new team members or any team members that may need a refresher. Again, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, just drop them in the question section and I'll answer them. And happy holidays to all.
Thank you so much, Doug.
Thank you.
All right. And I will now turn it over to Jennifer Carpenter to provide us any reminders and announcements from our Office of Teaching and Learning.
Thanks, Tiffany. So just so you know, we are going to be releasing our PD catalog tomorrow in the TAL bulletin. And so there's going to be information available tomorrow about how to register for PDs that are coming up in January and the following months. Please do make sure that you share the information that we're sharing with you today with the folks that you work with so that they can access these opportunities. So it's you can view the PD catalog actually now. The registration links will be open tomorrow. If you click the links that are available here on this slide, so that you know we'll be offering the IEP quality series again as an online course, and also the high leverage practice series for improving outcomes for all students. Those are two things that will be continuing in the spring. And additionally, and not included in the catalog, but I will be following up with you through Tiffany in an email, there will be a secondary transition 101 series offered again in the spring. It will be a live webinars that will be covering all aspects of transition plan development, from the basics to considerations of how to get that specialized instruction towards transition goals fit into a student's day. Again, that'll come in a PDF catalog page to you by email. Next slide, please. Additionally, our team is really working hard with some of our partners on providing different instructional series to help improve all students' growth in literacy and in mathematics, and to help you with the recovery process. We really encourage you to register for either series that's listed here, Making Literacy Visible, or Visible Learning for Mathematics. Next slide, please. Also, I would love for you to know that there are fully funded slots in the doctoral program at American University. It's to support folks to earn an EDD in early literacy intervention. Please do click the links on this PDF and check this opportunity out. There are going to be 4 fully funded spots in this doctoral program, and you have until Friday, January 29th to complete the application. There will be 4 fully funded awards, but there are other slots and maybe partial scholarships available. So it's really worth taking the time to look into it if this is an area of focus for you. Next slide, please. And again, we would encourage you to visit the Special Education Resource Hub and to make sure that your families are aware of it and know how to access it. And just one more reminder that you are able to access the resources through Special Education Connection through OSSE, and you can click the link to learn more about how to do that.
Thanks so much, Jen, for all your updates. I think they're very helpful for our LEAs on the call today. For those of you who may have missed last month's webinar, feel free to visit our webpage here, LEA Special Education Points of Contact webinar series. At that website, you'll be able to watch previous webinars and, of course, download any training or resources and materials that were shared during the call. And a recording of this webinar and slides will be posted to the web page within a week from our call today. We want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. And I want to see if there are any questions in the chat that maybe we need to answer here on the group call. Christy or Karen, I'm not sure if you see any questions that may be useful for the entire group to have an answer to based on the information provided today.
Nope, we have very few questions. I don't know if anything needs to be kicked out to the larger group, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free to go ahead and enter them in the question box now.
Okay, we'll give people a few seconds to answer any questions. I do want to share this slide with the OSSE points of contact. There may be some questions that you know are exclusive to your LEA, and you may want to know who are the folks to get in touch with for at OSSE for those questions. So we do have contact information here for everyone who presented today. I do want to remind everyone that our next webinar will have a bit of a date change. We usually meet on the 3rd Wednesday of every month. The next 3rd Wednesday is inauguration. Not sure how that's going to look for us, but we are going to move that date. So we will be meeting on January 27th. And that is going to be, again, a bit of a change in our typical calendar structure. Note if you've registered for the series, you will automatically receive that update to be able to join us on the 27th. If there are no additional questions, we want to wish everyone a happy holidays and hopefully have a restful winter break and time to enjoy your friends and families in a small group, of course. Again, if you have any additional questions or concerns, we have a full appendix here with folks that you can reach out to at the conclusion of this call if you do have additional questions. And in our handouts box, you will be able to download our webinar for today, as well as the policy guidance that Christy referenced earlier in the presentation, as well as the updated IDA monitoring schedule that Karen mentioned in earlier slides as well. Wishing you all a happy holidays, and thanks so much for joining us.